Hey everyone, nice to meet you guys. Sarah Geisinger from the CloudHealth by VMware sales engineering team. And today we're going to walk through, obviously, who is CloudHealth by VMware, some of the cloud management challenges that we've seen across our customers that are currently consuming CloudHealth and other cost management solutions. The cloud management maturity framework that we use and that we've seen resonates well within the industry when it comes to innovation, bills becoming out of control, and being able to start to track who is consuming what within inside the organization. I will end with the case studies and then also just some best practices around cost management, optimizations, as well as governance, security, and compliance. So who is CloudHealth? We are the global leader in multi-cloud management. We are managing about $11 billion in multi-cloud spend to date. We have over 10,000 customers who are using our solution. A lot of these customers, either they're directly working with CloudHealth or they are procuring software through a managed service provider. So we do have a large partner network that does also support our customers leveraging this solution. So looking at the percentage of customers and the breakdown of how they are using the solution is 48% are using it just to manage one public cloud, whether that's AWS, Azure, GCP. We do support Oracle now, as well as VMware Cloud Foundations. 52% are managing 2+ public or hybrid clouds, and then 9% is using this solution to manage 3 or more cloud providers. So just a little bit of a snapshot of how we were founded. CloudHealth was founded back in 2015. We were acquired by VMware back in 2018. And VMware was a long-standing customer of CloudHealth, so that really helped drive the decision for VMware to acquire and tackle this multi-cloud cost management challenge that we have been seeing within the industry. So the promise. Why do customers are moving from your traditional on-premise data centers to the cloud? I mean, the common words that we're hearing within the market is innovation, speed, agility. Everyone can start to get their hands on several different services or resources that we can start to push and deliver that content to the individual users on the other end. Improve the customer support and services. Like, these are all of the reasons why companies today are making that digital transformation, and that is the promise. But there are also challenges, and what we call it the reality of making that transition and making that migration over, where it's no longer centralized. IT is no longer managing what the developers have access to. It's now developers can go in, they have a user, they're able to spin up and create several different services across several different public clouds, and that's going to lead to that escalation of those cloud bills, where the individual who's managing it often comes down to whether it's the IT operations team, whether it's the DevOps engineers who have now been tasked with this job of cost management. We have to start to track down who's using this. Are they actually using it to the capacity? Is it just configured because it was up for testing and we left it there and we forgot about it? So really being able to identify some of that zombie infrastructure, that shadow IT that we are starting to see across the public cloud, and then also just that consumption-based model that some companies may not be used to. And the way that CloudHealth starts to help companies along this cloud journey is what we do is we're taking in the cost and usage report or the setting up a service principal in Azure, which we're basically just collecting the metadata from these different cloud providers. So whether that's infrastructure as a service, whether we're going to do container analysis or platform as a service, and then we deliver an integrated data layer for these customers. And we're able to start to provide different areas of insight. So we can start to deliver financial management, whether we wanted to identify what business unit is consuming X amount of dollars across these cloud providers. We'll go into operational governance as well, which is going to be more of that optimization phase of being able to identify, are my resources provisioned correctly? Where can I start to leverage these financial benefits that these cloud providers are pushing out to the industry to make it more enticing to continuously consume the compute that they have and those resources that they have? And then also starting to put some security and compliance in place, whether that's a tagging strategy, being able to place a tag on a resource and making sure that we're aligning to it. So whether we need to know that there's an environment on that resource, or this belongs to a specific client, so we can start to track cost per client or performance per client. These are things that we can start to put in place and automate this type of security and governance to ensure that there's nothing that is falling by the wayside, and we have that continuous automation in place as well. So being able to start to create different reports or dashboards or consume these through the API in order to streamline those operations within the organization. In the cloud management maturity framework, so this is something that we work with customers on to see where are we with the cloud journey. Is it, hey, we just migrated and we need to just simply gain visibility into how much this application is costing me today in the cloud provider that I chose to deploy it. I need to be able to show back to the business what my cost of goods sold are, or what's my cost per customer, to start to drive that revenue as well. So that's something that we start to identify first. Let's get that visibility in place. Let's understand where those costs are coming from. And then we move into more of that optimization phase of, now that we know that these customers are consuming these resources, this team is managing this project, we get into, okay, how are our resource sized? Did we size correctly? Are we using the capacity that we need? Or are we using too much capacity? Do we need to identify a larger resource? Are we using the newest technology, that newest modernization of that instance that has been released? So those are some of the questions that we start to ask within that optimization phase. Governance and automation, we start to put this in place to start to take action. So whether we're deleting volumes, we're getting rid of age snapshots, putting a data retention policy in place to say, I don't need these snapshots being stored for 90 days. That's costing me money. Let's go ahead and get rid of them. So starting to put some policies in place or thresholds, more of like a lights on, lights off policy, and then also integrating it with the business, being able to track this against the KPIs and understand that that move that you guys made from on-prem to the cloud was an advantage for your customers and for your business. It may not seem that from the first look at how much that bill is at the end of the month, but being able to start to put metrics around this and start to identify and create those revenue streams for the organizations. This is just one simple report that we can start to drill down into for visibility. We do have a multi-cloud report where you can start to track spend within one report across all public cloud providers. And then we also start to take the metadata and we deliver a business view for the teams. So whether we want to start to do this based on a tag that you guys are applying to a resource to say, I want to get a cost per project, I want to get a cost per customer, and then we can start to drill down into this to say what services is driving this Paul Revere project. And then starting to get down to that data layer that is going to provide actionable data for the team. So just being able to start to aggregate all the accounts across your organizations and then start to give a very simplistic view of your cost to start to make sense of those cloud bills. Also simple to do show back or charge back. So if you guys are charging back specific teams or specific organizations in your overall company, that's something else that we can start to help with and look at within these specific reports as well. In the optimization phase that I did touch on, so this is just a simple example of looking at the unused EBS volumes. This is something that we continuously work with our customers on. I believe that the optimization phase is an ongoing solution, an ongoing project. We are never done with this phase. We're always going to be spinning up new resources. We're going to be terminating instances, and we may forget about those EBS volumes that are attached to the instances, or the disks that are attached to the VMs or the compute engines. So this is a very foundational idea, but it's going to always continue to evolve and always going to continue to happen as we continue to spin up those new resources. So different and best practices that we see within this phase is going to be obviously terminating that waste. Get rid of the EBS volumes, get rid of the IP, the elastic IPs, the managed disks, so on and so forth. So these are ways that we can start to draw out and identify that waste. Because let's be honest, AWS, Azure, they all want you to spend money. They're not going to tell you and help you really identify where you can start to save. So that's where a third-party solution starts to come in to say, this is how we can become more efficient, and we can drive accountability within those teams. Other areas is purchasing reserved instances or purchasing savings plans. So again, taking into account those benefits and those discounts that those cloud providers are delivering for their customers, so taking advantage of those. Exchanging convertible reservations if you do still have those in your inventory, making sure that we are getting the return of investment that we put forth on those. And then again, just purchasing new discounts that we need to see, and then also that right sizing activity. Are we correctly sized? Are we underutilized? Being able to set different thresholds to say, maximum CPU is 20% or less. That's severely underutilized to me. Being able to isolate specific resources or teams to say, go ahead and identify and evaluate these 10 instances and see if this recommendation that we generate is going to be viable for that solution. So just being able to make sure that we are, again, sized correctly, but we are running efficiently as well. And then the last step is the business integration. So getting different teams involved, looking at from the executives, the operations, the finance team, the cloud economics team. These are some of the users that we've seen use the solution to start to normalize that usage and those costs across the cloud providers to come to a higher level strategy to say, let's start to drive that revenue. Let's start to track our cost of goods sold, our cloud spend percentage of revenue, our cost per customer. So you guys can start to get creative with the pricing and packaging that we are starting to deliver to the consumers, especially within media. How can we start to get more creative? How can we deliver this content more effectively and faster to those users? So really being able to start to have a strategy around the cloud spend and not just look at the bill and not just look at one individual or one team who is responsible for leveraging these cloud services, starting to get creative and starting to bring in different areas of the business to ensure that they are aligned of making this change from a more operational perspective. And this is, I'm going to finish here on the case study for Ziff Davis. So this is a customer, longstanding customer in the media and entertainment industry located in New York. Large customer, they have continued to use CloudHealth for several years. As you can see the quote from the Senior Director of Operations. It's not just reducing cost. We are also allowing just precision of reporting. The power of reporting and the power to streamline these reports in an automated fashion has helped customers being able to send that down to different organizations or building this out just in a hierarchy way of having several different sub-orgs for you guys to start to track that cost. Automated workflows, so just simply putting a policy in place to say if an EBS volume has been unattached for 1 week, automatically delete that. That's going to be continuous savings month over month over month that you guys will start to recognize. And then reservations and savings plans, being able to build out different quotes and being able to start to track where we are seeing that discount applied within the organization. Therefore, also starting to track the KPI of this is how much money we saved by committing more compute to AWS, by committing more compute to Azure. So they will start to reward you guys as you guys start to continuously spend and spend up new resources, but also start to pay attention and ensure that we do start to put that strategy in place and that process in place to maintain the level of spend, but increase that performance and increase the efficiency of the way that you guys are driving your business. And then this is also, if you guys have the time, if you guys want to start to see where you guys land on that cloud maturity model that I did show. So whether that's you guys are in the visibility phase right now, you guys are really taking the steps into that cloud journey. Hey, I'm in the optimization phase. I'm ready to identify where the waste is and how can I start to clean that up a bit and drive accountability across the teams. Or you guys are into that automation and that security and compliance. So I do encourage you guys to take this assessment. It's a great way to start to track your progress and track where you guys are on your cloud journey. But I do appreciate your guys' time. I know we do have a slide for questions. Ron, you may be facilitating that afterwards and distributing it to the presenters, but happy to answer any questions if anyone has them today.